Hi, good evening, everyone. We are going to do an in-detail revision of some questions of statistics today. This is from the past year paper CUET 2018. Okay. I'm going to pick on the past year papers now, ताकि at least we know the kind of pattern that will be asked in exam. What we will do is we will not only go through a question, I will try to show you all possible, topics related to that question. And we will try to go ahead and revise that topic thoroughly through a question. ठीक है? तो अगर एक क्वेश्चन सपोज सेंट्रल टेंडेंसी पे है या अगर एक क्वेश्चन सपोज स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन पे है या डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन पे है तो वी विल ट्राई टू गो ahead and we will try to revise all possible concepts related to that question through that question. Okay, let's take the first question. Try to do the question yourself first. It says, which of the following is less likely to be affected by extreme value? Less likely. 4 options are given to you: mean, range, interquartile range, and correlation. Try to do this question. Tell me what you think answer should be. Okay. Okay. You're saying everyone is saying D. Anything else? Okay. So let's see. So first of all, let's try to understand mean first. Okay. Mean, तो definitely it will be affected by extreme value because mean takes care of all observations. It considers all observations. सारा observation लेता है ना? So for example, if I go ahead and if I tell you that I have my observation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I make this 6 as an extreme observation. इसको हम 6 की जगह पे कुछ और कर दें. Suppose I go ahead and I make this as 60. तो क्या होगा? What will happen? My mean will be affected. Mean will change. है ना? So माने mean will be affected by extreme observation. Mean cannot be the answer. Now let us try to go ahead and let us try to think about range. What is range? Range क्या होता है? Range is highest value minus lowest value, right? तो extreme observations तो यही है, highest and lowest. So if I change the highest value, तो automatically range तो change हो जाएगा. Range will change. So range will be affected by extreme values because the moment you change highest or lowest value, जैसे आप change करोगे, range will change. Now think about interquartile range. Ab interquartile range, what is that? Interquartile range is basically dependent on the quartiles, right? And when we talk about quartile, तो quartile में क्या होता है? It is, so if I go ahead and if I have a data, if I have a data set, quartile means that I am dividing the entire data in 4 parts. मैंने उस पूरे data को 4 parts में divide किया है, right? Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4. So for example, if I go ahead and I say that this is Q1 here, this is Q2 here. Q2 is nothing but median. This is Q3 here, right? So here you will have 25% of the data. यहाँ पे आएगा. Here you will have 25% of the data. Here you will have 25% of the data. Here you will have 25% of the data. So pura data has been split in 25, 25, 25, 25, right? And when we do interquartile range, this is basically Q3 minus Q1. है कि नहीं? So it is affected by this value and this value. It is very less affected by what happens towards the end. Like median is less affected by what happens towards the end. ठीक है? जैसे इस डेटा में if I tell you 1, 2, 3, 4, 60, median is 3. दिस इज Q2, सेकेंड क्वार्टाइल। तो अगर हमने इसको 60 से even if I make this as 100, median will remain 3. Even if I make this 1000, median will remain 3. Similarly, if I say that this is Q1 and this is Q3, so this will not be affected. माने one thing we know for sure कि interquartile range it will be less affected by the extreme values. जो towards the end values हैं उससे interquartile range will be less affected. Now if I go and I write down the formula of correlation, अगर हम correlation का formula लिखते हैं, so what is the formula of correlation? Pearson correlation coefficient का formula क्या होता है? Summation xi minus x bar yi minus y bar upon under root summation xi minus x bar whole square summation yi minus y bar whole square. माने it would be affected by when mean will be affected. जब भी mean change होगा it will be affecting R and mean will be affected by extreme values. है ना? So if I make this observation 60 की जगह 100, x bar will change. If x bar will change, that x bar only is coming here. So it will affect this correlation. It will affect the value of R. So the most the most sensible answer that we can give in this case, it should be C, not D. C is the correct answer. C ठीक लग रहा है. Right? C is that value which will be least affected by the extreme values. Is this clear? अब देखो, I have written exactly this thing. तो mean is highly sensitive to extreme values. आउटलायर से मीन पे सबसे ज्यादा फर्क पड़ता है. तो मीन ये दिस इज अ लिमिटेशन ऑफ मीन दैट इट इज अफेक्टेड बाय एक्सट्रीम वैल्यूज. रेंज इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन मैक्सिमम एंड मिनिमम वैल्यू. तो अगर मैक्सिमम या मिनिमम ही चेंज होगा, इफ दैट चेंजेस देन रेंज विल बी चेंजिंग. सो इट इज ऑल्सो वेरी सेंसिटिव टू द एक्सट्रीम वैल्यू. It is also affected by outlier. This is also a limitation of range. ठीक है. Interquartile range, which is the difference between first and third quartile. Just because इसमें range word आ रहा है does not mean that it is affected by extreme value. वो point है जो 75% and 25% and 75% of the data का point है. It is less affected by extreme value because it focuses on middle 50% of the data. However, it can still be slightly affected if there are extreme values. If you have some extreme changes being made here, if I make some changes here only, तो of course वो affect होगा, but as compared to other data points, it will be less affected. ठीक है? Same is correlation. Correlation में because of the presence of mean, it will be affected. We can always debate that मैम deviations है यहाँ पे, mean नहीं है, but still R will be affected, right? So the right answer to this seems to be C. These are some of the formulas, beta. इनको you will revise. Revise formula. So formula of interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. ठीक है? And it is very less affected by outlier. ये इसका एक advantage है. And Q3 minus Q1 का interpretation क्या है? So because I have 25% of the data here. यहाँ पे Q1 आ गया. This is Q2. This is Q3. And I have 25% of the data here. So it means that when I do Q3 minus Q1, I am focusing on this part of the data set. Q3 minus Q1. So out of Q3, Q1 is gone. So I'm focusing on this part of the data set. It means we are focusing on middle 50% of the data set. जो बीच का 50% data set है, we are focusing on that. So this is one important thing that it focuses on middle 50% of the data set. ठीक है? And the more IQR, जितना ज्यादा IQR होगा, it means more data is present in the center. ठीक है? मिडिल पार्ट ऑफ द डेटा इज मोर. ज्यादा डेटा यहाँ पे फ्रीक्वेंसी ज्यादा है. मोर डेटा इज स्प्रेड आउट हियर. लेस डेटा पॉइंट्स आर हियर. द मोर द IQR विल बी. Okay. This is your homework. Please try to find your IQR for this data set that is given to you. Now, when we talk about visualizing IQR, तो यहाँ पे this is an important question which can be asked in MCQ paper, that how can we visualize IQR? हम IQR को कैसे बना सकते हैं? So one common way of understanding what IQR is through box plot. I'm not sure if you have ever seen a box plot or not, but if you go to econometrics book also, or you go to statistics book, you will see the presence of box plot very commonly for outliers. So what happens is that, suppose I tell you, this is my data set. Okay. So you will see that a box plot looks something like this. It visualizes the center 50% of the data. ठीक है, उतने में ही हम एक बॉक्स प्लॉट बनाते हैं. इट रिप्रेजेंट्स द मिडल 50% ऑफ द डेटा. माने इट शोज Q3 माइनस Q1 एंड बाकी डेटा पॉइंट्स आर आउटसाइड द बॉक्स प्लॉट, राइट? सो बॉक्स प्लॉट एक्चुअली इज 75th परसेंटाइल अगर हम 100% में देखें, माइनस 25th परसेंटाइल. So one way to go ahead and to show IQR, to show interquartile range, it can be through the box plot. It is a good way to show this. Okay. I hope this is absolutely clear to everyone. तो इसका correct answer हो जाएगा IQR, interquartile range. Look at the second question. Try to do this one and answer this question. Which of the following can be described as a categorical variable? Okay. ठीक है, make sense. So yes, all of you are correct that religion should be a categorical variable. The answer is कि age, of course, ये numbers में होता है, so it's a quantitative variable. ठीक है, income is also in numbers, so it's a quantitative variable. Grade points, score is there, तो score भी एक it's in numbers, so it's a quantitative variable. So the correct answer to this question should be religion, which is a categorical variable. ठीक है, so these are your different type of variables. Now within quantitative variable, please try to understand कि एक जो हमारा quantitative variable है, it can be discrete or it can be continuous, right? It can be either discrete or continuous. Like income is continuous in nature, right? For example, if we go ahead and if we talk about the number of cars, that is discrete in nature. या car 1 होगा या 2 होगा. But income can be continuous in nature, right? So whenever the data is continuous, we represent the data in limits, like income between 1000 to 2000, 2000 to 3000, in intervals. But whenever the data is discrete, we just go ahead and measure it in direct numbers, right? We can directly measure it in numbers. Okay. Try to do this one.